So the next part of this story is it's pretty much all messages. So just to make it a little bit more interesting than just watching me talk, I thought I'd go out for a little bit of a ride, considering it's such a beautiful day. So what happened next? So as we left it, I'd spoken to the police, and I've got the guy's Facebook, so I messaged him and said, are you the guy? Well, what I'm going to do is have the messages shown up on the screen, and you can read along, and I'll just give you the long and short of it. So to start off with, I just said, are you the guy that's got my bike? And he pretty much said, to you it's your bike, but I paid for it, so to me it's my bike. Then I suppose you could say I did a little bit of trickery. What happened is, a couple of days before that, I don't know if I mentioned it before, I probably kept it quiet, but there's a channel, a production company who's doing a documentary about Deliveroo, and they'd come out the 2 days previous and had basically followed me. All right, we're going this way. Followed me around all day. Well, no, it was all day. It wasn't all day. It was just for a few hours, to be honest. But they followed me around, and I wanted to try and scare this guy. So I said that I'm a YouTuber, and a lot of people have seen the bike. Just swallowed a fly. Ah, that wasn't pleasant. That was really unpleasant. Yeah, so I said that I was a YouTuber, and I also said about the production, the film crew that followed me around. Oh, that was stuck in my throat, I think. And I said that I'd given the footage to the production company, and they wanted to interview him, just because. Yeah, I just wanted to scare him, you know. He was doing something which was pretty scummy, and I wanted him to feel the pain. Now, he started off being like quite tough in the messages, saying like, yeah, you're so stubborn, you just care about money, and now you've lost your bike. And then he, all of a sudden, when he found out about the film crew and the YouTube, he started on laying on the sob story. He was like, oh, you want to take money from me during the coronavirus, and I've got a wife and child, and pretty sure she's left him, but we'll come back to that. Blah, blah, blah. And anyway, I said about, that maybe, because there was no way I was paying him for my property. I know a lot of you said, oh, you should have smashed him up or done whatever, but at the end of the day, I didn't really know how the situation was going down. I was just told that there was somebody waiting for me. So I jumped on my bike and got there as soon as possible. I didn't have the opportunity to arrange other people to come with me. I got on the phone to the police straight away because it's a bit windy. Because that's what I thought I should do, get the police involved, you know, being a roughly kind of almost law-abiding citizen. I thought that would be the best thing to do, and I was quite surprised when they said that they weren't going to come out. I thought that they would be all over that. So just putting my headphone in so I don't look like a crazy man talking to myself. Yeah, so there's lots of things that I could have done. I could have paid him. Never gonna happen. Never in a million years would I pay that guy for my bike back. It just was never gonna happen. Like, out of principle, that would have made me sick. And once I spoke to the police, I thought it was quite unlikely that they were gonna be able to get it back for me. So I thought, well, okay, well, how can I pay this guy without it seeming like I'm paying for him? And that's when I had the idea of the film crew. I said that in long and short of it is I said that the film crew were gonna pay to interview this guy, and he actually seemed quite up for it. And at one point he started joking that he wanted £100 instead of 50. So yeah, he gave me his phone number because I said that the film crew wanted to speak to him, and then the next day he kind of went quiet, and I was trying to arrange a time to meet up with him. I gave him like reassurance that it was just going to be me and one other person. I kind of swung it that the film crew weren't going to be in town for another couple of weeks, so they asked me to film it, and if they wanted to film him again, then they would pay for him. Now, what I was going to do, I don't know. I hadn't decided, to be honest, whether I was going to take the bike back off of him or I was just going to pay for the interview. I think I probably would have just paid him 50 quid, interviewed him, and then just used the footage. Just because it puts a bit of light on the whole situation, because it isn't just my bike, trust me. I think he had around 5 bikes. Anyway, he went quiet after that, and then I kind of messaged him and I said, look, unless you get back to me, I'm going to have to, my only course of action is to speak to the police. And it's at that point that he said, I put all of the bikes in my garden and they were stolen, which was obvious, a load of crap. But that's irrelevant. So, you know, nothing I can do about that. And I thought, okay, well, the police is going to be my only course of action. I had to wait like a week for my appointment to give them the footage and the statement, which was a little bit frustrating. It was very frustrating, I'm not going to lie. But hey ho. So anyway, later that day, do you remember the guy wearing? Oh, it's funny, it happened right here. Wearing the snow camouflage, the smackhead wearing the snow camouflage. He saw me, he approached me. Unfortunately, I didn't have the camera running, but he basically said, why didn't you just give us the money? And I said, well, I said to him that he could have his money, and he changed his mind. He said, well, you shouldn't have been on the phone to the police when you were coming here. I was like, well, all right. And he basically said that they had sold the bikes. You're gonna have to take my word for that, but I've got no reason to lie about this. So the Russian guy is messaging me saying that they were stolen, and his sidekick, his business partner, then comes out to me and says that they sold them all, which is probably more likely. Well, actually, I know for a fact it is, and I'll tell you why later. So there's me. I'm a little bit disheartened. I'm a little bit annoyed. And I go, what do I do next? Yeah, I just think, well, my only course of action is going to be the police, right? So I just carry on with my day. You know, I've got my new e-bike, everything's happy, apart from the fact that I've lost this bike. And so I think it was the same day, or it might have been, no, I think it was the same day. I don't think it was the next day. I get a message. Oh, one last thing about the smack ad in the snow camouflage. One last thing that he said, which I just want to point out, is he said, basically, he said, we've sold it now. Now it's your problem, and you're going to have to live with that you've lost a £1,200 bike. And I just said, yep, my problem, blah-de-blah, blah. So later that day, I get a message from somebody that I work with saying, Craig, I reckon someone's trying to sell your bike on Facebook. I'm like, okay. So he sent me a screenshot, and for some reason I couldn't view this bike. I don't know why, but a couple of people tried to search for it, and it just wasn't coming up in the searches. So in the end, I got somebody to send me a link, the guy who told me about it. And yeah, sure enough, you couldn't really tell because it was a really terrible photo, but sure enough, it was my bike. You could pretty much make it out. Now, these guys have got my name because I messaged him on Facebook, so I couldn't do it myself. So what I did was I got one of my friends to message and say that they were interested, like playing it cool. And he basically completely ignored him. And lots of people were commenting on the post, and he ignored all of them. You know, he was offering it for like 300 quid, I think it was. And I think that the offers were going up and up towards this 300 quid mark. They started off really low, like 100 or something, but they were going up. So that day I saw a police car, and I basically got by the side of it, and I just said to him, look, this is the situation. This guy's trying to sell a 1,200 quid bike for 300 quid. It's going to be sold in no time at all. Can you help me? And they basically said, well, we're busy at the moment, but give us your number and we'll see what we can do. And I waited and I waited and nothing happened. Didn't hear anything. The next day I see another police car and I did the same. I said, look, this is the situation. This is going to be sold in no time because he's selling it for a ridiculously low price. The bike that's worth like 4 times or more. No, 4 times approximately. It's not going to be around for long. It's going to get sold. And exactly the same thing happened. Oh no, I think he said something like arranged to meet him. Oh, sorry about the noise. Arranged to meet him and then let us know, or something like that. God knows, I didn't really listen to him, to be honest. And then that night, what happened is he started replying to the comments and also replying to the message. And so I thought, I just can't wait. So I created a fake Facebook profile, and I messaged and I said, look, if this is a size large, because he only had one photo, he didn't really give any details at all. Unsurprisingly, like he didn't really want it to be particularly identifiable. I said, look, if this is a large, then I'll pay you the asking price. And eventually he did reply to me, but he said that somebody was coming that night to see it, and I was like, crap, that's this game over. So I rang up 101 and I explained the situation to them, and they said that somebody would get back to me. So the next morning I had a phone call. This is where it gets really bizarre. I had a phone call from a policewoman. It was really early. It was like 8:30. She said, look, I've got all the details. We're going to go round to this person's house because let's just say I did get his address. He didn't put the address on the post, but let's just say that some of this no, I'm going to give out his name. I don't really care less. Couldn't care less. His name was Drew Nichols. I'm even going to post a nice little photo of him. So the police said we're going to go round to the reason I had his address is because let's just say that some of his friends maybe like me more than him, and they were kind enough to share his details with me, which I gave to the police. They already had him on file, so they wouldn't confirm it, but I knew that they mentioned that his name he was on their record, so he's already got a criminal record, or at least something's happened with the police with him, unsurprisingly. He looks like a little bad boy, a little gangster. So yeah, she rang me up at like 8:30 in the morning and said, we're going to go round there before lunchtime to catch him before he wakes up and see if we can get the bike back. And I'm like, right, awesome, that's great. That's absolutely awesome. So lunchtime comes around, and I haven't heard anything. And I said, I thought, they definitely said they were going to go at lunchtime, so this must have already happened. So instead of calling 101, I thought I'll just go to the police station because I was working anyway. I went to the police station and I was like, what's the deal? And this is where he is really strange. She said, yeah, so I've got I had to do it via an intercom because the police station was closed. And she said, right, yeah, I've got it on here that you're coming in to see the officer in charge on Thursday. I was like, no, what do you mean? I explained the situation to her, that somebody had called me, and she was like, oh, okay, I'll get somebody to call you. So I was like, okay. So about 10 minutes later, I get a call from a PCSO, and I said, okay, well, what happened? And he said, yeah, so you've got to come in on Thursday. I was like, no! And I explained the situation, exactly everything again, to the PCSO, and he said, "Oh, okay, I'll get somebody to call you back." So another period of time, I think it was half an hour, and a police officer called me up, and again, I had to tell him the exact same story of everything that had happened. The police officer calling me up, and basically, they didn't know who had called me up. They didn't know who this woman police officer that had called me up at 8:30 in the morning. They called on the landline, so I didn't have the phone number. I suppose I could have got it, but it just would have been a police number, wouldn't it? But anyway, it was needless at that point. They didn't know who this was. But the policeman said, "Look, we're going to go round there shortly. Can you send me any identifying marks of this bike so we can identify it when we go there?" And then I think it was a couple of hours later, I get another phone call. I'm not sure if I chased them, I can't remember, but I get another phone call from the police officer, and he said, "Right, we've recovered a bike," and I said, "Is it got this distinguishing mark on it, how I could prove that it's mine?" He said, "Yep." So I knew it was definitely mine, although I knew already, but I just wanted 100% clarification, and they did that. So then I had to wait, I think, a couple of weeks to go. I couldn't get the bike back. I had to wait a couple of weeks to see the police officer because he was busy. Or no, was it a couple of weeks? It was like, okay, so I gave him the footage in that 7 days later because he couldn't see me for like 7 days, and then it was another week or 2 weeks or even 3 weeks after that I went in to give my statement, and he wasn't even going to give me the bike back at that point because he didn't know if they wanted to fingerprint it, they didn't know who they were going to charge, blah blah blah. So I was going to get a coffee, wasn't I? So I was being pretty patient because I had my e-bike anyway, although I did want the Carrera back as soon as possible, obviously. So eventually I did get in to see the police officer, and yeah, I gave him a statement. I identified the bike, and I got it back. If you haven't guessed already, that's actually what I'm riding now. So yeah, I mean, it's not a completely happy story. Well, it is a happy story, I suppose, but there she is, my long-lost Carrera Crossfire. So our friends, the scummy bike thief circle, they did a reasonable amount of damage to the bike. The rear wheel was... Oh, I have to bleep that out. The rear wheel was, let's just say it wasn't true. Both of the brakes were that word that I said previously that I can't say again, and they had taken off the mount for my light, which wasn't really important. What really did grind my gears is the fact that they damaged, well, they damaged the frame where they cut the lock off, and also they took my quad locks off, and I didn't come back with the bike either. So the damage isn't too bad where they cut the lock off. Now, one thing that I would draw your attention to, if you might not be able to see it clearly, but the little smackhead that, in the snow camouflage, if you see how dirty his hands were, they were like he had been working on bikes. Now, they had approximately 5 bikes that they had bought off of Kieran Evans. Now, my guess is that they were the ones doing the work on the bikes, you know, cutting the locks off, taking the things off of them, because let's just say that Kieran Evans isn't the sharpest tool in the drawer. I don't think that he's capable, I don't think he would have the skills or the knowledge to do anything on a bike. So I'm pretty sure it's these guys that cut the lock off and took everything off of there. Kieran would have been like, yeah, give me 20 quid, let me buy some whatever it is that he gets high on, and then he'd be on his way. So these guys are the ones who've done it, I'm certain of that. Yeah, so there she is. What else can I tell you about the bike? Yeah, so the one of the annoying things is the fact that Cycle Republic had closed in the meantime, and they were the ones who were doing the warranty on the rear wheel. Now, very luckily, I managed to get a new motor for the bike, because the bearing, which is the thing that was not so good, it's all kind of, it's not one piece. It could have been fixed, but I don't know why. Anyway, what happened is I've got a new motor on there, so I've put a brand new motor in there. I've had the wheel professionally trued. I replaced the disc brakes front and back. Instead of getting them repaired, they're replaced. They're brand new. And basically, I've given it a clean. I've put new grips on there because the others have been what's the word? Scummed over by the skanks. Yeah, giving it a clean. Done a few bits here and there. Put some SPD pedals on there, and now. I don't know, it probably would have been finished by the time you watch this video, but now the bike is on eBay and I'm going to sell it. Try and get some of my money back from building my my other e-bike. I could keep this one, but to be honest with you, I don't need two bikes, and you can't really sell, not in good conscience, I don't think that you can sell a made e-bike, just because you got to ask yourself the question: would you feel comfortable buying an e-bike that some unskilled, unprofessional person has made? And I think at least 7 times out of 10 the answer is going to be no. People just aren't going to be prepared to take the risk buying somebody's crappy handmade e-bike. And although I took a lot of time and effort into building mine, if there was any kind of electrical problems, then I would feel bad. So if one bike's got to go, then it's going to be this one. I've actually rebooked my flights now to Thailand. I'm going to go in July. I should be there now. So I don't know what I'm going to do with my my abomination that I've made myself. Yes, I mean, I've got God knows how much money wrapped up in that bike, probably around 1,200 again. So it's a tough one, knowing what to do. I could sell the batteries and keep the bike. I could, there's lots of different things I could do. I'm not sure yet, but yeah, by the time you watch this, this bike would have been sold. I will put a link in the description just for whatever. Yeah, and that is the story pretty much concluded. That is the story concluded. What happened to everyone? Well, Kieran was charged with stealing 2 bikes. He went to court. I don't know what the outcome of that is yet. Our friend Drew Nichols, who was the person trying to sell my bike. One thing I didn't mention is once all of this has started going down, he deleted the post, like within hours of replying to the messages. There's 2 reasons for that. Could have been, one, it could have been because he thought that he might get caught. The other one could be that he had enough interest that he could just message the people that had expressed interest, and that way the bike wouldn't be up there. There's less chance of him getting caught. One or the other. I don't think he's the brightest spark in the, in the fuse cabinet. I don't know. I don't think he's the brightest spark anyway, so I'm guessing that he got spooked. I don't think he's intelligent enough to go, oh, I'll just try and sell it to these people. Yeah, so he admitted to handling stolen property. So he knew it was stolen. Funnily enough, well, this is how I know they all know each other. He is friends with Kieran Evans on Facebook, so he knows Kieran Evans. Luckily, he's over the age of 18, so he's able to be tried as an adult. I'm very happy about that. And our Russian friend, there's a warrant out for his arrest. The police did go to his address that they had on file, but unsurprisingly, he doesn't live there anymore. But there's only so many years you can live in a country doing stupid things before you get picked up for something, and when he does, he will get charged with handling stolen property, because he was aware that it was stolen, and there's proof of that. So yes, I could have beaten him up, or tried. They could have had knives, you know, but as I mentioned before, I wasn't prepared to be in that position myself. I wasn't prepared to put the people that I work with in that potential position where they go, do we look like chickens here, or do we help and then potentially get stabbed? You know, these people are looking after families, they're doing a job, they're not there to administer street justice on my behalf, which is why I couldn't expect them to do that. Yeah, I jumped in when Jay grabbed hold of Kieran. That was a choice that I made, but the fact of the matter is I was able to make that choice, and I couldn't make that choice for other people, and I couldn't expect other people to. If I did grab this guy and they didn't join in, then it would have been 3 against 1. I'm pretty sure they're all druggies, and I didn't know if they had knives. You can't really hear it from the video because it's all muffled from when we grabbed Kieran, but he actually said to his friend to pass him the shank or to do something along those lines. So either that was a bluff, or they had knives on them, or at least one knife on them. It wouldn't surprise me. Either wouldn't surprise me, bluffing or if they had knives, or both was true, I don't know. So yeah, the fighting wasn't really an option. Paying him was never really going to be an option. I would have happily paid for an interview that made him look like the scum that he is, and then just tried to make it go viral or something like that. But although it was a long, drawn-out process that cost me thousands of pounds because of the time that I wasn't working, the time that I didn't have an e-bike, etc., etc., I don't know, call that a £2,000 lesson on locking up bikes. Yeah, so, you know, it's a crappy situation, and the bike has come back in worse condition than I had it. So I've lost, I don't know, over £100. So I lost my quad lock, I lost the mount for my light, I lost the £50 lock which I bought, which is now more money if I wanted to buy it again. They messed up the wheel, they messed up the brakes, etc., etc. All right, just call that an expensive lesson. But yeah, got the bike back. The bike is in perfect working order now. Brand new motor, brand new brakes, 2 batteries. On eBay, hopefully I can recover some of the money. Yeah, expensive lessons, and expensive lessons that people are still making, because a Brazilian guy got his bike stolen from outside the little Tesco's on Oxford Road yesterday evening. So yeah, I guess that's a mistake that people are always going to make. It needs to be fresh in your head. You need to be reminded to lock your bike up every time, to not take risks. Anyway, this has been another long and boring video. What do you guys think? I suppose I always knew that it wasn't the end. Like, I always knew that in some way the bike would crop back up. It's the nature of bike thieves. Then they just aren't smart enough to take it to a different town to sell it on. They're just, wow, I think they're all just smackheads, you know. They just want their quick fix, but they made mistakes, and they paid for it. Would it have been worth it, as in the punishment that they get? Probably not. I don't know. They're probably mostly going to get away with it. I don't know what the punishment is for handling stolen goods or bike theft, but if it goes to the magistrates, I know that after I said I don't think magistrates watch YouTube, a magistrate commented on one of my videos, and I think I probably said something along the lines of them being middle-aged, white, middle-minded group of people. Like, there's no diversity in the magistrates' court, and typically they go easy on people. I don't know, people might have different opinions of the magistrates, that's just mine. That was the prevailing opinion when I studied law in the University of Reading. So that's an educated view. That's not just me being snide or rude against magistrates. That came out of a book. Anyway, yeah, if any of you have made it this far, then let me know what you think, what you would have done. I don't know, just comment below. Yeah, it could have gone a lot worse. It could have gone a lot better just by locking my bike up. I know that. If you guys want to comment, lock your bike up a bit more, then you're more than welcome to. It's a little bit patronising, but you know, whatever. Anyway, take it easy, guys. Yeah, there's been a lot of naming. Thank you, Mr. Motorbike. There's been a lot of naming and shaming in this, and to be honest with you, they all know that they were doing wrong, so I don't care. I genuinely don't care. The Russian guy, I can't pronounce his name, but the name on Facebook is actually an anagram of his real name, and I can't remember what his real name is. But you have Kieran Evans, who's the scummy little tow rag who was stealing all of the bikes. You got Drew Nichols. He was the one who knowingly was handling stolen goods, selling them on Facebook. He's a bit of a gangster. If you read some of his, yeah, let's just say he's a little, you know, I should probably be scared that he's either going to stab or shoot me, because he's like, you know, at the tippy top of gangsterhood. I'm sure he's in like some kind of Reading Mafia or something like that. And, you know, I'm probably going to have my house burnt down. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, and also, unfortunately, I don't know what the little crackhead's name is. The guy in the snow camouflage, the one who had the nerve to approach me. And I don't know what his intentions were there, but he was obviously in a bad mood, and he wanted to poke the bear to try and say we got our money, but whatever. And yeah, like I say, I mean, I don't know the Russian guy's name, but I'll post up a picture with his name underneath. Yeah, and that is this story concluded. Take it easy, guys. Long video, but hope you made it this far.